This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hey there guys, I'm Cameron Harris. We love making this show available to you free of charge, and you can help us keep it that way by making a contribution to our Karma Jar. To learn more, visit our website. Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SketchUp, a 3D Toolbox. I'm Cameron Harris, and this is episode number 55. Today we're going to continue with our series on the Kaweah Falls House project. Here's what the house looks like, and today we are going to be modeling the roof, which is actually a fairly interesting part of the house, especially from a modeling point of view. It has a couple unique challenges. So today we're going to dive right into it and start modeling the roof on our garage. This is what our model looks like right now. We've finished all of the windows and the doors, and everything is looking really good. The only thing I've done since then is I went ahead and added these glass panels. They're very simple. They're like windows, kind of, but they're on the inside. That's why I didn't show them in the last episode, and they're very easy to do on your own. If you look at this photo, this is what the garage looks like. You can see where they are inside the garage. And I put them in there because it's going to make modeling the garage's roof a lot easier. Because from this photo, you can see that the garage has a pretty standard slanted roof where there's a point in the middle of the room where the peak is at its highest. So you would think the roof would be like that, but it's actually not. One part is higher than the other. So let me show you how we're going to do this. First thing we need to do is take a guideline right into the center of the house, or of the garage, just like that. So right there, that's our center point. And the next thing we want to do is we want to draw a line straight across there. But before we start modeling anything, I'm going to open up our layers window, and I'm actually going to choose garage. I'm not going to create a roof level yet because we're going to actually be adding on to the wall structure of our house at this point. So I don't want to make its own layer just for roofing yet because this isn't technically part of the roof. So I'm going to go into the garage layer, and then I'm going to draw a quick line across here, like that. Now that's going to go ahead and create these faces for us. We want the faces over here, but we don't want the faces over here. We have a standard 8-foot ceiling on this side of the garage. On this side, however, it's open. I'm going to go ahead and reverse the faces. So the white side is facing down. That's what we want right there. There we go. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the line tool, and I'm going to select right here at this guideline. I'm going to take a line, and I'm going to go up 3 feet with it. Okay? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what you would think this would look like. I'm going to take a line and go straight down here, take another line, go straight down here. I'll erase the line in the middle. Take the push-pull tool and just pull this shape all the way across like this, right? This is what you would expect. And then if we look on the inside, we've got these extra faces here that we don't need, like that, okay? This is the standard shape for a roof. But if we look at the exterior shot of the garage, we can see that the left part of the slant is actually higher than the right part. It's a very interesting design. It makes it look very cool, and it's very interesting to model. Let me show you what we're going to do for that. I am going to take another line from the center point. I've got this shape. I'm going to go ahead and keep this shape. It's a good starting point. But I'm going to take another line and go straight up 1.5 feet, and I'll draw another line down here. I'll take this shape and stretch it across like this, right? There we go. Now I can take the eraser tool and erase those lines. So you can see this is the profile. That's what our roof is going to look like. So I'll go ahead and delete this line too, these series of lines. There we go. And I'll go ahead and clean up the back side as well. So what we've done is we've extended our walls so that they will match our roof line. And then on the inside, the only thing we're going to do is this face here got deleted, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh yeah, we accidentally deleted this line in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just retrace this line. This is something that's very easy to do when you start doing roofing. There we go. You start deleting lines that you think you don't need, but in fact you actually do need them. I'm going to go ahead and draw a quick line up here, because remember, we want an 8-foot ceiling over here, but in here we want it to be open to the elements. So I'm going to go ahead and draw some quick lines here, like that. And do the same thing over here, just going up, snapping to the roof, and then drawing a line right there. There we go. So now we've got that slant here, but a standard 8-foot ceiling right there. And we'll do the same thing on the inside here. We'll just delete this and draw some lines. Roofing is always very interesting in SketchUp because it tends to get very complex. And they're very simple shapes, but getting them to fit together, the angles are especially difficult because you've got all these different angles that need to fit together just so. And it's very simple shapes. You can see how to model them, but it's how do you make them fit together? How do you make them intersect with each other in such a way that it makes sense? That's done. Got some lines poking through here, but that's not going to be a problem for too much longer. So that's looking really good. That's the wall part of our garage. Now I'm going to go into the layers menu here, and I'm going to create a new layer called roof. Not roof, roof. There we go. And I'm going to set it as the active layer. So everything that we'd model from this point forward will go into the roofs layer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure I've got my garage all grouped because we don't want our roof to stick to the rest of our walls. And I'm going to go ahead and trace a rectangle here. I can't use the rectangle tool because the rectangle is at an angle, which the rectangle tool does not like doing. There we go. So I've got a solid face right there. I'm then going to take the push-pull tool and pull it up. I'm going to pull it up 6 inches. That's the height of that roof chunk that we're going to be dealing with. Then we want an overhang. We want the roof to stick out over the rest of our house. So I'm going to take the push-pull tool again, take this part here and push it down 9 inches. Take this part 9 inches. So now it's sticking out over the rest of our house. And I'll do the same thing in the back. 9 inches. There we go. Now the only other thing we need to do for this chunk of roof is if we look here, this roof should be flush with this wall right here, but it's not because it's a slightly different shape. All right, very easy way to fix this. All we need to do is we take the line tool, start this corner, and just draw a quick line straight up. Doesn't matter how tall, as long as it goes over the rest of the roof, so it's taller. And then we just take a line from here. Now, even though our axis tool is set to be rather regular horizontal axis, if we click here and draw a line out, there's the red axis, right? But if we go up, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Right, there's the red axis, that's flat. But if we go up a little bit, it snaps to a pink line, which is parallel with the line coming from back here. So it continues the roof line for us, which is really, really handy. And that has created a face for us right there. We'll delete that extra line. Take the push-pull tool and push it back. Snap it with the edge right there, and get rid of these lines. What that's done is that's made it so that the roof line is flush with this wall right here. And then we can do the same thing back here, just delete that extra line. There we go. So that is one part of our garage's roof done. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the next part. Same basic idea. I'm just going to use the line tool to trace the top right here. And now I'm going to take the push-pull tool, pull this up again 6 inches. And in this case, I'm going to have it stick out 9 inches that way, and 9 inches this way, 9 inches this way, and once more 9 inches that way. There we go. And in this case, we don't have any walls to intersect with, so we're doing just fine. That's looking really good. I'll just triple click to select this, make a group, triple click this, and make a group. And that's the garage's roof done. This is what's so ironic to me about roofing. If you look at this, these two shapes that we just created are rectangles that are at angles. That's all they are. They're just rectangles, just slabs, except that instead of lying perfectly flat, they're at slight angles. But it took us way longer to create them than it would have just if they were lying flat. It takes a lot of thinking. It takes a lot of time oftentimes, just thinking about, okay, how can I make this work? How can I make this model look the way it should? When you've got these slabs at weird angles and they need to fit together and fit with the rest of the model in a certain way. It's very interesting. Now, we're going to do this same thing for the rest of the house over here. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to create an angle over here. Now, you'll notice that we've got this weird thing right here where the rest of these walls are 8 feet high. This wall here is, how tall is it? It's 10 feet high. That's a 10-foot high wall, just right here. Now, why is that? Well, we needed to make these walls 10 feet high to accommodate these windows right here. But it doesn't just go 10 feet and then drop down to 8 feet. It actually slants down like this, right? That's what it should be doing. And that's what the roof does. So that's what we're going to do next. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into the layers menu because we're going to be modifying the walls. So I'm going to go to level 2 because this is level 2. I'm going to make that my active layer. Close that down. And I'm going to go into the group here. And this is the apex. This is the highest point of our roofing. So I'm going to go ahead and actually make a guideline just for that right there. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a quick line, a quick guideline rather, out, and we're going to match this wall right here because this is where the roof needs to start. Okay? Then I'm going to draw a quick line from this point right here down to this point here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a quick line right here. And the reason I'm dividing it right there is because we don't want the slant of this wall to go from here all the way down to here. We don't want that. We want it to stop at that point right there on the interior part of this wall. Otherwise, we would have to raise the rest of that interior wall up to meet it, and it gets a little bit weird. So we're just going to go on the interior part right now. So we'll select this point right here with the line tool and draw it down to right here. And there we go. That has immediately given us that shape. We're going to take that shape and pull it back 6 inches to line up with our exterior wall. And then what we've done here is this part of the wall right here, you can see this wall is too tall because it's still at 10 feet, but the slope has already started to come down. So it doesn't need to be the full 10 feet. It can't be the full 10 feet. So we'll just go ahead and push this guy back like that. And then what we need to do is we need to take the line tool and go here and get rid of that and that. Get rid of these extra lines right here. And this roof line continues all the way down. So we're just going to push this little wedge shape right here all the way back down to right there. Now I'm going to get rid of some of these lines because we don't need them. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we've created that slope on that wall. We're ready to make the actual roof part now. So I'm going to bring up my layers tab and go back into the roof layer, just like that. We're going to do the same thing. Now it's a little bit different because we've got this notch right here, but I'm going to show you how we're going to deal with that. We'll take the line tool and we'll start at this intersection point right here where the roof line starts. Go all the way down to this point right here, all the way down to the other end of the house. So all the way down to right here. There we go. And I'll just take that line and lock it to the red axis and go all the way down here and click. And there we go. So there's our face, right? That is going to be our roof line for this whole part of the house. We'll take it and extrude it up 6 inches. There we are. Now at this point, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did before where we're going to push it out 9 inches, but that's going to have a couple of interesting side effects. Let me show you what those are going to be. This part of the wall right here, I pull it out 9 inches. Look at what it's doing. It's intersecting with the rest of this wall because of that slope. 8 feet doesn't mean 8 feet on the exterior part of the wall because of that slope. This is where roofing gets really kind of complicated. So we're just going to go ahead and we need to actually pull it out a little bit more, make it flush, and then go another 9 inches. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back in to our wall, and we can see the line right here. I'll just, right there, there's that end point that it's snapping to, and just draw it right down there, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into X-ray, And we can see this wedge right here. This is that chunk of the wall that we don't need. I'll go ahead and select it and push it all the way back. And it should just keep going all the way down the rest of the house until we get to the end right there. And you can see that. There we go. We've got that wedge right here. We just need to trim it slightly. There we go. Pull the rest of the roof over like this. Pull it out another 9 inches. And there we go. Now, obviously, we have way more roof than we need right now. But I'm going to show you how we're going to deal with that as well. First of all, let's make sure that everything's looking good over here. It seems to be very nice. Now, it's the kitchen right here where this roof needs to change shape. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go down here to the end, right here where the roof ends. And I'm going to take a guideline from this wall, extend it out 9 inches, the amount of overhang that we want from the roof. And I'm just going to take the roof and I'm going to push it back just temporarily to that guide, make it easier to draw my line. I'm going to draw a line right here, dividing this part of the roof into bits. So now what I can do is I can actually take this one face and just pull this out as much as I need, right? Then I can take this part and push it back until I get to the kitchen right there. There we go. And then I'll just pull it out another 9 inches for the overhang. There we are. And then all I need to do is make it so that the rest of the walls in this house match, right? Okay, here is what we're going to do. And this is very, very cool. We're going to intersect the walls with the rest of the roof. This might not make sense. Let me show you what I mean. We covered intersecting a long time ago in this series. I'm going to go ahead and switch into the layers again real quick. Now, one thing that might have happened, if I turn off, let me switch to level 2, and I'll turn off the roof layer. You see what that did? That did a couple things. First of all, the roofs vanished. That's fantastic because then we can see into the house, but also some of the lines vanished. You see how we're missing some lines here? They're just not showing up. They're there, but they're hidden because they're part of the roof layer, even though they should be part of the level 2 layer. When you're intersecting things like this, lines and layers tend to get blurred very easily. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to go into our house right here and we're going to triple click. That will select everything connected to it, everything that should be on that layer on level 2. And if we go into the entity info, you can see it's not showing a layer because some of those lines, not all, but some, are part of the roofing layer, but some are part of level 2. We'll just choose level 2 to make sure those all get put back on level 2. There we go. Our lines have come back, so now I can turn the roofs on and off as needed. Okay, perfect. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave the roofs on for right now. I'm going to go back into my walls and use the push-pull tool and pull them up. So I'm just going to choose this piece of wall right here and pull it up. And I'm going to go actually beyond the roof. I'm going to go way more than I need right there. There we go. Now I don't need to do that for anything else because everything else down here has already been modeled for it. The walls are all lining up with the roofs just right. So all I need to do is just pull this part up. And I want to make sure that the roof is covering or intersecting with these walls at every single point. And I see only one point here where it's not. So I'm going to get out of this. You see how this part right here, the roof should be stretching out beyond this wall right here, but it's not. So what I'm going to do in this case is I can't use the push-pull tool on this part of the roof because it's at an angle and the push-pull tool doesn't work at an angle. This is where roofing gets really complicated. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go down here and I'm going to take a guideline from this right here, stretch it all the way back down here to about something like that. That looks about right. The overhang doesn't need to be precise. It just needs to be about the same overall. I'm just going to draw a line right here, separating this out. And then I'll just take the push-pull tool, pull this back. There we go. Get rid of that line. And I'll get rid of my guides, clean things up a little bit. There we go. So now the walls, the interior walls, are intersecting with the roof everywhere. This is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into my wall section here. I'm just going to close my layers real quick. Triple click to select everything, and then I'm going to right click and choose intersect faces with model. What that's going to do is it's going to calculate things for a few seconds. There we go. Anywhere that my walls are intersecting with the roof or anything else in the model, but in this case it's only the roof that's intersecting, it makes lines. It separates them out. Let me show you what that does. Again, we covered intersecting in a previous episode, so I'm giving you kind of the just kind of the 10-cent tour of intersecting right now. I'm going to go back into my layers and untick roofs, and you can see that the roofs, even though they're gone, you can see those lines right there. Those lines were created when the roof intersected. So what we can do now is we know that this line right here, this is where our walls need to stop, at that angle, at that height, exactly. So what I can do now is I can just take the eraser tool and go to town here. So I'm just going to trim out all of this top stuff and just start erasing it. Things are going to go a little bit weird, but you don't need to worry about that because you're going to get rid of everything. Just get rid of all this stuff right here and start trimming these things down to size. Same thing over here. Get rid of all this stuff. So we trim everything down to that first level. So that first level, that's the top of the roof. That's 6 inches above where our walls need to stop. So we're going to take everything down to the bottom line right here. So we're going to get rid of this stuff as well. And you can see right here that our walls are suddenly becoming flush. Our interior walls are becoming flush with our exterior walls, which we know line up with the roof perfectly. And as I said, this house is very interesting because a lot of the ceilings on the inside of the house are slanted just like the roof is. It's not a slanted roof that then has a flat, false ceiling on the inside like a lot of houses do. It's not like that. It keeps that angle, which makes our job a little bit more tricky because we have to make sure that when we model the roofs, the underside looks good because that's the ceiling. We don't have an extra ceiling to hide all of our mistakes. You can see I've trimmed everything down. It looks a little bit strange right now because we don't have roofs to cover everything up. So I'm going to go ahead and bring back the roofs. I'm going to my layers, check the roofs. There we go. Now I'm going to go inside. Look at that. The walls line up perfectly. Close my layers window. Everything is at the perfect angle. Everything. We go inside here. Everything is perfect, nice and clean. That is fantastic. Now you might remember in our last episode we did the windows and the doors, and I didn't show you how to do every single window and door in the place because that would just take too long. Same thing with the roofs. There are only a couple more pieces of roofs, but they involve the same basic steps. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, actually. I'm going to show you what it looked like when I was done with the roofs on my Kaweah Falls house. This is what it looks like. I've added a couple extra details in preparation for a future episode, but this is the basic idea. So you can see, it's the same thing with the garage. This part is higher than this part, right? This part here has some notches cut into it, but all I did was I built the rest of the roofs first, then built that, and then intersected it. And just like I was able to trim out the unnecessary pieces of the wall, I can trim out the unnecessary pieces of the roof. And again, 9-inch overhang on everything. And it all fits together beautifully. Zoom out, you can see this house is really starting to come together. Now, our next episode, we're going to do something very fun. We're going to create a photorealistic render of the Kaweah Falls house. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But until next time, be sure to visit our website at www.harwoodpodcast.com. There you can find the show notes for SketchUp, a 3D toolbox, and there I'll have the lesson file for this project, which is going to be this model as you see it right now, the completed version. So you can look at that and kind of deconstruct what I've done to create the rest of these roofs and figure it out on your own. Also, be sure to email me at cameron@harwoodpodcast.com if you have any questions or comments about the show. Would love to hear from you guys. And until next time, I'll just say goodbye and good modeling.